knows.
With so many movies, TV shows, books, all this stuff that's already out there about the glorification of violence and murder, do you really think we'll ever be able to reverse the effects of such this, just the glorification of all this violence? Do you think it'll ever be able to be reversed?
It's going to be tough, but first of all, there is a correlation. We don't know if it's causal, but there is a relationship between, children watching a lot of violent television and playing violent video games and listening to violent lyrics and music on the one hand, and committing violent crimes on the other. There is a relationship, whether it's causal or we don't know, because the youth who like violent media may be the aggressive, violent ones to begin with. That's why they like violent media. So there's a correlation, but we don't know if it's causal. Even if we got rid of all the violence in the media and in our popular culture, we'd probably still have a high level of street crime, because street crime responds to structural conditions that are terrible. And when we have a high unemployment rate and people don't see opportunities, they innovate. They often will use illegitimate ways of trying to get what they want, to be successful, to make some money, to make it in this world. So, you can't, I hate to say this, but you really can't blame it all on the media. You can blame a little bit of it, though. I'm not against that. But I think, again, it's also what is happening in our society outside of the media that really might make a bigger difference. Yes. So how can schools get involved in reducing this problem for our youngsters? Boy, we ask the schools to do everything, but there's good reason for that. The families aren't doing it anymore. And who else is going to do it? I mean, so it's left to the schools almost by default. It's about the only place we can reach large numbers of youngsters. There are ways that the schools can help. First of all, I have already mentioned after-school programs. They could be incorporated into the school day, and with an elongated school day. A lot of people don't like that, but I do. I think that makes a lot of sense nowadays. We ought to be teaching our youngsters basic skills again. So many of them don't know how to read or write or do math, or even arithmetic. And part of the problem, I hate to say this, but part of the problem is that the teachers don't know how to do those. We're talking about several generations after the late 1960s. And I'm not talking about all teachers. My goodness, I don't want to condemn all teachers. There are plenty of great teachers. But there are also those who grew up in the late 60s, early 70s, on up, when we talked about alternative schools, which are great. I had a child who went to an alternative school. It was terrific. Open classrooms, relaxation of the rules. Don't bore students. Don't make them memorize the multiplication tables. It's too boring. I'm telling you, it's not just the students anymore. It's also their teachers. We've got to do, it has nothing to do with their pensions. It has to do with women whose only opportunity for advancement in the 50s and 60s was to become a teacher. So we got a lot of really good teachers who were women who wanted to be professionals. Well, now women have a lot more opportunities elsewhere. They can become professors, they can become lawyers, they can become doctors. The majority of college students are women. The majority of veterinarians are women. The majority of students in medical school are women, and in law schools. And so who are the teachers? Unfortunately, sometimes they're this, I hate to say this because there may be potential teachers in the room, and I'm not talking about, don't personalize it, but they may be students at the bottom of the class. You know, so you asked me what to do. The first thing we should do is make sure that we get really good teachers in our schools so that our students learn basic skills, so that they can get jobs that require some knowledge of science and math and everything else. I could keep going, but I think I better stop before I really bury myself.
I think we have time for one more question. In the back.
Hi, my name is Bernadine DeSantis. I'm a junior here at Emmanuel. And I just had 2 questions for you.
Okay.
One is, what keeps you motivated when doing your research, and why do you continue to do it? And my second question is, what advice would you give to someone who wanted to follow in your footsteps in terms of research and understanding crime, possibly particularly in Boston amongst juveniles?
Well, I want to tell you, don't be a profiler. There are no jobs for profilers, and anyway, profiling is an art, not a science. Every time that bothers me. That bothers me in the media, okay? I can't watch Criminal Minds. And it's entertaining, and I wish I could because I'd like to be entertained, but it's fantasy land. There's no such thing as that kind of miraculous profiling. And it's not just that one. The CSI, usually at crime scenes, there's very little physical evidence. So there, you know, oh, look, under this bottle, there's a hair. Oh, take it with tweezers. Just happen to have it in my hand. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is fantasy land. I can't stand it. I don't know what to do because I like television. But so the best thing to do, I have to tell you, and if I have to say this briefly, if you're really interested in studying crime, go to school, which you're already doing. That's good. Stay in school. Get a PhD. And then you can get into prisons and interview very violent people. That's what I did. You know, prisoners are isolated. They don't get many visitors. They're very happy to see you. And you can give them therapy. Say you major, for example, in psychology. You can give them therapy. Get your master's in social work or in clinical psychology or in forensics. You know, there are so many ways to do it, but I would do it through education. Come in from the top. You know, and don't get an advanced degree in psychological forensics. You won't be able to get a job. Okay, wait. You ask me, why do I keep doing this? God, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? You know, I have to tell you that I always think that by now I would be desensitized. You know, I've done this so long. I've seen so many horrible crime scenes and autopsies, and I thought by now at this late stage in my career that I would just be numb to the whole thing. Well, it hasn't happened. It still bothers me a lot. And if I allow myself to think back to some of the crime scenes that I have seen, if I did it right now, I wouldn't sleep tonight. I probably wouldn't sleep for 3 weeks. So it still bothers me a great deal. And look, we've only been studying the worst kinds of murders for about 30 years. There's a lot to learn. We're still in the dark as to where this comes from. And that's why I'm still doing it. I'm still trying my best, and I'm writing about it. I'm doing research on it. I'm still teaching it, and I still love doing it. That's the most important thing of all. Thank you.
So thank you again, Jack, on behalf of Emmanuel College, the professors, the students, the administrators, and myself personally. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the rest of you, we'd ask if you want to join us for a reception over in the Fenway room in the admin building. We'll be there. And for my classes, I'm going to put the sign-in sheet up here as well. Thank you.